It's the Ed Bernstein Show, Home Edition. Now, here's your host, Ed Bernstein.
Hey, welcome to our show. A little bit later in the show, Zowie Bowie, also known as Chris Phillips, will be on. But right now, in person on this Zoom is entertainer George Wallace, Mr. Las Vegas extraordinaire. I mean, I couldn't be more impressed when I saw you with Jerry Seinfeld. Where were you at the Peppermill or something?
Yes, we did a comedian in cars getting coffee at the Peppermill. Yes, and it's the most expensive one done. Thank you, Ed.
Do you really eat at the Peppermill, by the way?
Yes, I do. It's it's one of the old establishments, and late at night you go by and they give you lots of food. I get the same thing every time I go. I get something called a French toast with they give you like 3 sausages, 3 bacon, and 3 hot cakes. You're full when you leave. Okay, it's really still cool, and that was an interesting moment. And did you see Seinfeld asked me, "Are these people in the in here in the Peppermill? Are they local?" Or I said, "I don't know." And all of a sudden, I just shouted out,
"Hey, where's everybody from?"
Vegas.
And did you see the place light up from all over the world? They were shouting out places, and I just enjoy. You can have so much fun in Las Vegas, I haven't been there, I'm away. I'm down in Georgia now. I left back in March when the pandemic started. So I do miss, enough said, call Ed.
Yeah.
Enough said, call Ed.
I'm going to use that for a commercial.
Well,
anyway,
you do that.
But you and Jerry, and I know you just wrote a great new book. It comes from a lot of your tweets that you've been very, very popular in. I don't know how an older guy like you has been so good on Twitter, but
this is true. That's what most people say. Most people my age and your age, we don't get into this tweeting. I'm a little slow into the Instagram world, but things are changing now. We've got to make these changes. And I hear, we have the cell phone now. We're doing things with a cell phone. 20 years ago, could you imagine just with this cell phone, buying an airline ticket and picking your seat and your dinner and you're ready to go, just go to the airport just with the cell phone straight through. And they tell me this is nothing compared to what's going to happen in the next 15, 20 years. You already know we're not going to have any cars. I'm already investing. I know you're a smart man. I'm already investing in Lyft and some of the new autonomous car companies coming out because you won't need a car in 15 years. You just have a car pick you up and drop you off. You won't have to look for a parking space. You don't have to pay insurance. I'm looking forward to these new things coming. I'm looking forward. And there'll be no gas cars. We're going to have all EVs.
But it's great that you embrace it, instead of fighting. I'm still fighting with TikTok, trying to figure that out. Can't get it. But anyway.
Ooh, that's a good one, man. You got to get on that TikTok. Or you got to go, I'm lazy. The Instagram and TikTok is only 10, 15 seconds. Put something funny on there. I talk trash all the time. Like I did, I should have put this on Sunday when we watched the Super Bowl. And did you watch the Super Bowl, like the halftime show?
Yeah, sure.
And I said, maybe next weekend. This weekend. I think that's for us older people, because I think the young kids really enjoyed the show, but people our age, we go, come on, do a show, dude. Put on a show. And they have the covers over the face. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but it must, I know you temporarily back in Georgia, but where you kind of grew up there anyway. But but it must have been an exciting time to be in Georgia from this last 9 months or so, right?
Do you know what I'm pointing at?
Your
That's
heart?
Georgia Blue, baby. That's Georgia Blue.
Okay.
Georgia Blue. And I made some jokes. It is my job to make jokes. And I said this guy was peached and impeached in the same month. Peached and impeached in the same month. And I came up with a great new joke, Ed, and it was a Jew and a black man walked into a bar. And the bartender says, "May I help you, senators?" I thought
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
You talked about the cell phone. Who would have imagined 20 years ago? Who would have imagined 20 years ago a Jewish guy and a black man, being elected 2 U.S. Democrats, U.S. senators in Georgia? Never would have thought of it. Anyways, I need to talk about your book because Bulltwit. Bulltwit. Why did you write it?
I wrote a book. I wrote it because I wasn't into it like it's something that we older people have to get into. And I said, why should I share my jokes with the world? Why can't people pay to come to Las Vegas and see me? And I thought, you know what? There's 500 million tweets every day around the world. These people would never get to come see me. So I said, I'm going to share these jokes. Plus, it's a very hard job trying to compact these jokes out into 140, 280 characters and make something funny. So they're just little online ramblings about me and how my life is. They don't even make sense. Like I have a shout out this morning. Did I shout out today this morning? Like shout out to all the nooks out there. Crannies. I don't like the crannies. The nooks you can get the butter and the jelly into, but the crannies, So little things like that. I try to make you pee from your eyes. Pee from your eyes. And we need laughter. And so it's a warped sense of humor. But if you're into Twitter, matter of fact, I need more followers at Mr. George Wallace. Then put some laughter in your life, because when you stop laughing, you stop living. It's important. That's another thing. You asked a question because I talk too much.
I was going to show an example of what's in your book. For instance, growing up poor. You did some.
There was a whole
tweets.
section on growing up poor. Like you won't believe this. We grew up so poor. We never knew there was a Mr. Sanford. All we watched was the sun. That's all we got in Atlanta, just the sun. We never knew about Mr. Sanford. And when I got to Las Vegas, what is that? I grew up so poor. Yeah, my dog could only afford one rabies. That's how poor. So we have some fun doing those things. And I don't know what I'm saying. Don't know what I'm doing. It's just look at you.
We grew up so poor. We stayed at the Two Seasons.
Yes, at the Two Seasons. And then because the real joke on that, if you stay at the Four Seasons, you know why they call it that? Because that's how long it's going to take you to pay for it. So that's the real joke on that. And so everything is a little twisted there. You can go from I'm so poor to shout outs to I got to do the shout out to the top 5 eds in the world. That's what I got to do. Eds.
Here's the top. You do a shout out. You have a whole section on the top 5 of everything. Let me show one. You have the top shout out to the top 5 COs, COS in the world.
Yes.
Cost.
That's Costco.
Okay. I see. I got it. It's even funnier than I thought. It's Costco, El Pollo Loco. Loco. Visco. Tabasco.
Okay, this one's very hard.
And Lorraine Bracco.
There you go. How about that? And then I did that. The reason I did the top 5 codes because I was on Conan last week. Conan.
The Conan. Oh, but better than being on Conan than Colon. I thought you were saying colon.
But hey, the fun part of doing those jokes are the replies. Not my jokes, are the replies. Like I had the top 5 bells in the world. The Liberty Bell, I had Saved by the Bell, Jingle Bells, Cowbell, and
Tinkerbell?
Tinkerbell. I had Tinkerbell. But
I was a guess.
Those were my 5, okay? Yeah. But I got the replies, and the people said, well, I guess Taco gets no love, huh? Taco Bell. And then came in, how about Bell Bottoms? Oh, my God. Aren't you old enough to remember Archie Bell and the Drells? And the Bells? Yeah. And then they say, you are so dumb. Dumb Bell. So that's the fun of the book. And people are buying the book like crazy. We're already into our second printing. And it's called Bulltwit and whatnot. GeorgeWallace.com, GeorgeWallace.net. I tried to do something different this time. No Amazon. I thought, I'm going to try to make all of my money coming back to me this time. I was thinking like Ed,
Right. Well, we will promote it for you. We will put in big letters at GeorgeWallace.net and whatever your other website was.
I'm writing a book now. I'm into the second book already. It's called More Bulltwit and whatnot. I got so many notes here, so I'm writing. So that's all I do, Ed. I sit home and write jokes all day. I'm trying to get McDonald's right now. I'm trying to get McDonald's to make up their mind. Every 3 months to keep bringing back this McRib sandwich. And I told them, I did a convention for them via Zoom last week. I said, would you people just make up your mind whether you're going to bring that rib sandwich back? Please, the McRib is back. Here's one I like to do. I like to give a great shout out to your favorite Coke factory. Your favorite Coke factory. Now, I don't know about you guys, but mine is Burlington, okay?
Okay.
and there's a lot of lies out there too. I want to talk about that, like the Cheesecake Factory.
Right.
There's no factory there. They ain't making it. It's all a lie. Everything, even Ed, even my job is to look into stupid stuff in the book, like the fortune cookie ad. You go to the fortune cookie, which was actually discovered in Japan. Man, we often associate it with Chinese food, but it's just Asian. Now, here's a guy in a sweatshop many years ago. I mean, sweating his ass off, just sweating, just 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Making 67 cents an hour. And he knows what the lucky numbers are.
Yeah, it's like the psychics, right? I mean, you wouldn't be a fortune teller. You wouldn't be standing on the boardwalk in a little stand if you really could see the future, right?
Oh, well, goodness, Ed, it was on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. And this lady told me if I gave her $100, she could predict my future for tomorrow. I told her if I gave you $100, I can predict my future for tomorrow. I'll be broke. So, man, are you coming up with these great jokes? This is funny. I'm glad I'm talking to you, man.
Hey, when are you coming back to Vegas?
I will be back to Vegas as soon as everything is straightened out. And I got a COVID shot. I got my shot.
Oh, you got
your
first
shot.
one?
I got my shot. I got the first one. And I want to say this, especially to the African-American community. It is very important for you to go out and get that vaccine. I know we've had some problems medically with our history, but don't wish you had gotten the shot. Please go get the shot. And matter of fact, that's what I'm also doing. I'll be thinking in Atlanta, Georgia, to make some extra money on the side. I'm selling fake IDs for young people in their 40s and 50s. I'm making fake IDs that make you look old, like Keith Richards. It's a fake ID kit. It comes with a cane and a mask and subjects to talk about. And when you're sitting in the doctor, I can't believe what these young kids are doing. Did you hear what these young kids? You know what they're doing. So it's a fake. It's $89.99.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you'll be very wealthy with that, Mr. Wallace. We miss you. Hurry back. We got to run, but please be safe and hurry back to Vegas.
Did you say Zowie Bowie is coming up?
Yes.
Oh my God, what a fantastic entertainer he is. And tell him I don't like him.
Okay. But I'm sure you were there watching him on New Year's Eve from Atlanta.
Yeah, he's a great friend of mine. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Hello, Las Vegas. It's still George Wallace. I'm at the Westgate. You have a choice. You can go see the blue man, or you can come see the black man.
or the black man with the blue shirt.
And you got a hat. You got a hat coming.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Wallace, by the way.
Okay, sorry. Well, welcome back. And with me now is Zowie Bowie. Hey. Wow. So, look, when you're out on the street, are people calling you, what do they call you? Is it Chris Phillips or Zowie Bowie?
As long as they're not saying, hey, it's the guy in the wanted poster, I think I'm good with whatever. To be honest, I usually get Zowie Bowie. That's how most people know me. There's a handful of people that know me by my real name, and that works too. But I've committed myself to this alias as of about 26 years ago, and little did I know at that time that I was going to be stuck with this silly name the rest of my adult life. That works.
And I remember you and I talked about this a number of years ago on the show. I'm sure I remember asking you about the name, but why don't you repeat the story? We have a whole new audience. Everybody's gotten older.
Well, I'll tell you, for the first 10 years of my performing life, I was actually, I'm not sure if I should say, I'm embarrassed to admit, I was a long-haired heavy metal drummer. And during that time, I knew that wasn't going to be my future, because even since I was a little kid, I dreamt of coming to Las Vegas to follow in the footsteps of my Vegas iconic idols, be it Elvis and Frank and even Don Rickles and Paul Anka. I just loved these Vegas guys. And so since I was 8 or 9 years old coming to Vegas, I wanted to live their life, whatever that was. And so it was about late 20s, 28, 29 years old. I had an opportunity that was given to me by some of my friends who were in early 80s novelty type band that did, David Bowie and other kind of things. And they said, Chris, we have this big show coming up and our singer has taken ill. Here's your chance. If you can learn these songs in the next couple of days, it's yours. And you can finally come out from behind the drums. And so I learned a few songs. I put my hair in a ponytail, shoved it down my shirt. And I decided that, maybe if I pretended to be David Bowie's kid, Zowie Bowie, no matter how I did on stage, it wouldn't matter because I'm David Bowie's kid. And so it was just a joke and something I did just to kind of overcome my fears.
By the way,
26 years ago.
It never worked for Julian Lennon. You know that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I'll take a swing at this. And so I did the show. I sold my drums, cut my hair, and set off on this journey that I thought would be fun to get beer and chicks when I was a young guy. Now I'm looking at 55 years old this year, Ed, and I am still calling myself Zowie Bowie and looking for beer and chicks.
Money for nothing and chicks for free, right?
Yeah, but I don't think my wife would appreciate me saying that.
Yeah. Okay. One of my daughters just got a new dog. She's named it Ziggy after Ziggy
Oh, you're
Stardust.
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, that's essentially the character that I kind of always had in my frame of mind as far as this kind of alien rock star creature thing that came to Vegas and set up shop and never wanted to mature and go home.
There's very few entertainment venues occurring in Las Vegas, and on New Year's Eve, unlike any other New Year's Eve we ever had, there was a
depressing
vacuum of entertainment. At the same time, we had an incredible grand opening of the Circa Hotel, and when they decided to do something special on New Year's Eve, they came knocking on your door, right? That had to make you feel good.
I'll tell you, it was actually back in August of this past year, right in the heart of all the lockdowns and the problems going on, and it was actually Nexstar, who owns a lot of networks and affiliates across the nation, who called me and said, look, this isn't a typical year for us, and we'd like to do something special on New Year's Eve, and we're not going to do our typical programming. So they said, Chris, if we were to give you 2 hours on New Year's Eve, what would you do? What's the concept? And what venue would you like to do this at? And we'd like to know it by tomorrow afternoon because we're in town and we'd like to walk the property. It's a true story.
No pressure. Yeah.
No. And I remember hanging up the phone and looking at my wife going, okay, we got to produce and try to come up with a place to do a New Year's Eve special that's going to be all around the country. You got any ideas? And so, the way it worked out beautifully is that I knew that my buddy Derek Stevens, who was opening this new Circa property, was going to be doing, his big grand opening, quite frankly, a couple days prior to New Year's Eve, where he opened the entire hotel with the rooms and the club on top. And I thought, what an amazing opportunity this would be to show off this brand new property, to kind of symbolically cut the ribbon for reopening Las Vegas. I thought it was the perfect fit, not only because I love the property and I love their company and him personally, but they have, as you may know, this venue called Stadium Swim that seats 4,500 people. And it's almost set up like an amphitheater out there, where there's this gigantic 140-foot wide screen that their novelty, obviously, at the hotel is sports and sports betting. So they show huge games out there. And it's the hottest place in the Southwest, not just Las Vegas. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could set up in front of the screen and produce our New Year's Eve special with them there at Circa? So they agreed. They loved the idea. And we were hoping that by New Year's Eve, this COVID business was going to be all over. And obviously that did not happen. And so even 2 days prior to New Year's Eve, we were intending on having about 400 or 500 people out there. And, we all kind of talked it out and thought that, it's probably the best idea for a lot of reasons, just to keep them inside safe, or keep them at home. And we'll bring the party to your living room, to your couch. And so I was very, very honored to essentially be representing Las Vegas, to show that we're still here. We're still open. And more than anything, please come back. We'd love to have you. And the entertainment is certainly not dead here in Vegas. And so I think we were about one of the only shows or programs or events going on, if you can imagine that, anywhere in Las Vegas. And so we put on a 2-hour show. It was a telethon to help raise funds for a organization called Super Bowl of Caring. And they supplied hundreds of thousands of meals to those who, had a little bit of a challenging year. And hopefully we were able to help them out with some donations, and put on a show that consisted of a 30-member cast. And all that sounded great until we got out there, and it was about 70-mile-an-hour, 20-degree winds. That was literally like a freezing hurricane. And so I had showgirls and dancers and hip hop dancers and horn players with sheet music. Everything was blowing all over the place, and the poor showgirls were holding their hats on their head. And I think it was probably one of the most satisfying, incredible performances and experiences of my life, because we knew that we had to be warriors out there to defend Vegas's maverick spirit and our pride. And so we got through the show, and it was great. We had a blast, and I think everybody was happy. And you know, I just hope that we did a small part in being able to bring attention and people back to Las Vegas. So hopefully we not just cut the ribbon of the hotel, but cut the ribbon of Vegas, you know.
Yeah, and I watched and I felt, God, I was feeling for you. I was watching the wind. You know, unlike the Super Bowl. I mean, I was watching the Super Bowl, and you know, when you're singing outside, it is in an uncontrolled environment.
Yes.
And I was really disappointed in the sound at the Super Bowl with The Weeknd. I mean, he's a great entertainer, and the sound just never clicked for me.
Well, what he's doing is he's combining the live band tracks, which are, you know, backing tracks, and vocals. And then I think they even had some of the violins and things they had going and mic'd up. But it's a real tricky thing for on the fly to a guy sitting out in a truck in the parking lot with headphones, trying to make that happen on the fly. Granted, it's the Super Bowl and they had time for production and sound checks. I think it could have been a little better. But
I totally agree.
I you know, that's what they do for a living. So I think that it could have been improved, you know, but I will say, from doing things like that, it's always a challenge compared to doing something in a controlled environment where they have maybe days worth of sound checks. In our case, it was the most incredible part of the night was the fact that we didn't have I guess you might say the ability to get together to rehearse because of so many COVID restrictions and such. So I designed and wrote this whole new show with all these new arrangements. It was a 17-piece band, half of which we'd never met until that night. We get out on stage, we did it on the fly. It could have been a nightmare, and I just couldn't believe that it came together. But I do understand how that would have been tough, even for The Weeknd and those people out there to bring it together. But you know, that on that level, I think that could have been better.
That's exactly my point. Right. I mean, you think about the Super Bowl, you think it's happening in Tampa Bay. The weather's nice. It's, you know, they know what they've done. You know, 55 of them or whatever the number, 54 other ones. You know, that's right. The point I'm making. Then you came out, you know, not knowing, you know, having no, you know, previous experience with the band and some of the musicians, and then fighting the winds and the colds and God, I mean, I was like, oh. I mean, I was feeling terrible that you had to fight all these elements.
Well,
but
you know,
I think you did a very admirable job in spite of all that. You did a great job. You sounded good. I mean, your voice sounded great.
Oh, thanks.
And it's still.
I'll tell you what. I think the thing that made that most exciting for us is, even though it was freezing cold and we were scared to death about all the factors that could have gone wrong, none of the people on stage had performed since March 19th. So that was the first time I'd even held a microphone in 9 months, 10 months. And to go up there and do something of that magnitude in front of millions of people was definitely something that got the best of us in terms of our nerves. And so I guess I want to thank the Circa Hotel for supplying vodka.
Look, this pandemic has hurt a lot of people in a lot of industries. Probably no industry more than the entertainment industry. So where do you go from here, Chris? I mean, you know, you know, like you're like a hockey team with nowhere to play.
That's exactly it. You know, and what you got to remember is there's the entertainers, which I feel bad for, but then there's the hundreds of thousands of people that make entertainment happen. I'm talking about the engineers and the producers and the ticket takers and the costume people and the literal army of people that are very much involved in this industry as well, both entertainment and hospitality. And so when you combine those two industries here in Las Vegas, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people sitting at home out of work with nowhere to go, because there's not another job you can get within our own industry that we're trained and brought up doing, because the entire thing is wiped out. And so you have to get creative, and we're going to have to become a lot more inventive as to how to move forward. Some people have left the state, unfortunately, and had to flee to states where there's things open. A lot of people had to get real jobs. I know half my musician friends are at Home Depot or selling real estate. I think I'm one of the few that is still just holding out, praying that some things start opening up. But I think you can imagine that being in our industry, we're very passionate about what we do. We're not just taking a job to make money. This has been our dream since we were kids. And so throughout our whole life, we've worked and trained and blood, sweat, and tears to get to the point where we are now. And, you know, I'm only speaking for myself when I say I had not missed a week of performing in exactly 26 years, not one. And then March 19th came, and that was the end of the party.
Yeah.
We had done 3 to 5 shows a week for over 2.5 decades. And then it all just came to an end. But again, I'm just speaking for myself. I would not have traded this year for anything in the world. It's been the greatest year of my life. And for the simple reason, not only did we get to take a long needed break, but more importantly for me, I got to do 2 things. And one, spend time with my little 3.5-year-old daughter, Ava, which I would not have been able to do before, which you can't get that back.
Right.
And to spend time with my family. But more importantly for me personally, it was to kind of reinvent and kind of assess where I'm at and realize that when it does come back, I need to take things to another level and evolve. Because like I said, I'm competing right now with 18-year-olds with the kind of music and show I do. And I think it's time I start acting my age and evolve into something a little more mature. And so by doing this show, I would not have had this opportunity to do a nationally broadcasted program unless there was COVID. I got to host a national awards show because there was COVID. I got to stand on stage the last couple months with my idol, Wayne Newton, and do a thing with Showgirls and live out my bucket list fantasy of doing a show with Wayne Newton. I would not have been able to do that without COVID. And so for me, even though it's been financially devastating, as you can imagine, as it has been for everybody, I got to do things I would not have been able to do, and I got to spend time with my family. And most importantly, for my profession, I got to create a whole new, bigger and better show with horns and dancers and showgirls, and to put on this kind of Vegas spectacular that I really hadn't had the opportunity to do to the extreme that I was able to on New Year's. And now I want to take that and put it in a showroom, put it in corporate parties, put it where it needs to be to keep this maverick spirit of the city alive, doing a real, genuine Vegas production.
Well, I'm looking forward to see what evolves out of that, because I know you're one of the hardest working guys in the industry. What you 3 to 5 nights a week, you're working all over town, and you probably lose 5 pounds of weight every time you do a show. The way you knock yourself out and perform. So we're out of time. So thank you so much, Zowie. Chris,
and thank you so much. I'm a big fan of you and your show, and so to be on here is a tremendous honor. And if I may just say, hang in there to everybody who's sitting on the couch. It's coming. It's coming.
Let us know when you recreate this and you're back performing. I'd like to talk to you then.
Thanks, and I appreciate it. You have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks so much, Tom.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye-bye.